Hey, what is up guys, and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to be looking at Immersed VR as a workspace for a video editor, and I'm also going to be having a look at workrooms. Jumping straight into Immersed, I will be connecting to my desktop. The first thing that you'll notice is your resolutions probably won't be set right. Now naturally you'd want to go into your settings, motor controls, and change your settings here. But I've found that the quickest and easiest way is to just use your computer as you normally would. I like to have my resolution set at my screen's native resolution because this is just the resolution that I am most comfortable working at. This is also the resolution that I've set up all of my applications to work at, so bit of a no-brainer there. Once you're in the application, you definitely want to make sure that you've got your keyboard set up because it actually can be genuinely useful. Now, I'm exploring using Immersed as a video editor. I would ideally be using this software to collaborate with someone over vast distances. And of course, because of how the world has been lately, for social distancing and COVID. You know, you don't want strangers coming into your house to have a look at a small amount of footage. With my keyboard lined up, I'm able to easily go to the start of my file. I've got my main screen here, which is a nice, wide, large screen with the resolution of 3440 by 1440. Now, with my broadcast background, I am very sensitive to latency, and it does have an option where you can bring up and see what your latency currently is. My latency is 4 milliseconds, and 4 milliseconds is more than enough to throw you off just from moving your mouse around. I find that the absolute maximum I can work with is 7 milliseconds, but I'm lucky enough that my network is strong enough that I'm managed to hold on to 4 milliseconds and even drop down to as low as 2 milliseconds. Considering your computer has to encode, send it over the network, send it wirelessly over the network, and then your headset has to receive it, then de-encode that and put it in the space you're working in, I'd say 2 milliseconds is pretty gosh darn good. I never want to say that again. So the first thing I will be checking, of course, is latency. I'm going to hit play, and of course it's going to be silent because every time you start up Immersed on your desktop, it will set the volume to 0. Let's see how it goes. Okay, the latency there was actually really good. The video was changing on the beat, each beat when I had the beat set, which is a great start. I've watched a few other YouTubers that have gone over a similar thing where they have used software like Immersed, and they've said that this is a great place, especially for editors and people that really need to stay focused on their job, to utilize this virtual space. The caveat that I find is, well, quite simply, the pixel density isn't high enough and the quality of the footage being compressed, sent over, then decompressed is just too low. As a static image, it would be fine. Maybe you could work with something in Photoshop, but even then, the pixel density is just not high enough that you can't just glance at something and easily see it like you can with a physical monitor in front of you. Honestly, it feels like this is a little too wide, but of course that can be adjusted. Now, the reason why I've chosen Immersed first is because this is the software that I am most likely to use, for the key reason that I'm able to bring my desktop in at its full resolution, as well as having a secondary screen here off on the side also at its full resolution. Now, the one complaint I do have about this software almost instantly is the audio controls that you have over it. Working collaboratively, you'd want the audio from what you're working on to go to the other person, as well as being able to hear them speak and them hear you speak. The issue here is that you don't have the finer controls to be able to stop you from hearing the audio from your device for a case where you might have your own headset on. Of course, you're more likely to be using some other sort of voice chat, maybe even Discord at that point. But assuming that the person on the other end of your collaborative is not as tech savvy as you, you're more likely to run into issues there. Now that's just a personal preference, and the audio does come through just fine, but I do find that the audio is more than likely going to be out of sync. Now I've had the unfortunate event where not once during this filming has the audio gone out of sync, but that is purely down to the fact that I have got a good, strong network holding me up. In situations where you're more likely to have a weaker network, where you're using just standard Wi-Fi routers given to you by your internet company, you're more likely going to have issues where your video and audio are going to be out of sync. Those negatives aside though, Immerse seems to be a great platform to use if you want to be working in the virtual reality space. It gives you, as mentioned before, your full resolution, full size desktop as well as secondaries. And the advantage that Immersed has over some other applications is you're also able to have virtual displays. These are displays that will register in your operating system, but you don't have to have a physical monitor to gain access to it. Okay, I've tried and failed getting my phone to connect to this. It's still in beta testing, but you are able to bring a mobile device into the virtual reality so that you can operate it without having to take your headset off. And this would be a great advantage to stop you from being taken out of this immersive world to just check a message or a text. Of course, you're able to take your desktop and yourself into just about any environment you can think of. For example, here I'm in Iceland? You're kidding me. Oh. Now here in Horizon Workrooms, you do have to have your desk set up, which can be a little bit annoying, but it's super useful right here. Now you can't see this because screen recording doesn't allow the pass-through to be recorded, but here on the pass-through I can see my keyboard here in front of me and I've got my mouse here on the side. So I'm not having to map my keyboard to a virtual keyboard in order to use it. Now when I bring up my screen, you'll notice it's quite small. In fact, very small. I'm running at a screen resolution of 1440 by 900. That is quite small, but that's okay because you can come in here and increase your screen size to a whopping 1920 by 1080. If you force your screen resolution to be at anything but those two specified resolutions, it will simply just disconnect. You don't have the option for an extended desktop nor virtual displays like you do in Immersed. In terms of working in here, I have had to make up a specific layout for this application so that I'm still able to utilize this smaller screen properly. The advantage to this workspace is that you get the pass-through for your keyboard so that you can see the whole thing, but also the disadvantage for that is you may not be able to make out all of the letters. My keyboard lights up, so these cameras are so low resolution, don't have enough contrast in there that I can't make out anything written on any of these keys. First up, let's check for the audio latency. And that brings us to another reason why I'm actually not a fan of Horizon Workrooms. There seems to be a bit of a bug where not everyone is actually able to get audio to pass through properly, and there's no settings for you to change to try and help that. So your only option is to use your local speakers or headphones. Now the problem with that is that when you're in a room, boardroom, collaborating with people, they won't be able to hear what's going on. But the boardroom is quite nice. Once you get in here, you can see you've got space for 4 people to sit, and you've also got this extra space here for a person that is using a web browser or a mobile device. So here in the Horizon workroom, we're able to, you can create notes, upload files, join a room in VR, add teammates. Working here in Horizon workrooms is definitely a bit of a mission because you are limited to the size of your screen, and I like to work with a large canvas. Also, just like in the other application Immersed, you are subjected to network latency, video compression, and I have found that Horizon has got some, let's just say, bad compression. I can see here just with my own eyes that I've got a lot of little dotty things there, and I also don't like that as soon as my hands are up, it assumes that I'm wanting to pick onto the screen. I do really like that. In Immerse, you can turn that off just by touching a finger. So Horizon Workroom is a great idea, and I can't wait to see how it will evolve over time as they improve their features, but currently they just aren't transmitting their video fast enough, it's not reliable enough, and the compression is just too high and it leaves too many artifacts on there. The only thing I can see Horizon Workrooms being useful for is just getting your first draft in, getting your timeline laid out, but you can't really do too much work beyond that, especially if it's a narrative story where you need audio, because I can't seem to figure out why the audio isn't working. I've changed every audio device, I've looked for hidden things. Horizon Workrooms just doesn't seem to want to work for me. But I do love that the keyboard and mouse is here in my desk area set as a pass-through. And the other cool thing about it, of course, I am able to draw things using my controller, Mo. Oh, that's shocking. Now, with all that said and done, you might be wondering, why don't I just use Zoom? And to that I say, well, thanks for ruining the whole point of this video. Yep, you're right. You're probably better off to just use Zoom for this sort of thing. But if you and all of your friends do have a virtual reality headset, Immersed is probably a great idea to check out because you've just got a lot more flexibility there. As for Horizon, it still has some work that needs to be developed in it, but it is a really good, user-friendly, cross-platform alternative, assuming you've either fixed the audio issue or you just don't need audio at all, other than your voice communication, which I've even heard that gets a bit buggy. Now sadly, I haven't been able to test the software out in a collaborative standpoint because I don't really, I've got a small circle of friends and can't really afford that sort of. If you've worked in this sort of situation before, let me know how your experience was down below in the comment section. I'd be really interested to know if you're a video editor and you've done this sort of work in VR collaboratively with, say, a director, or your first DP, or even the creator of the content and script. That being said, thanks for watching. I hope it's helped inform you about some aspects of the application. This software is really just plug and play. You have your agent on the computer, then you have the application on your Quest or other VR headset, and as soon as they're synced up, usually by a simple code or just simply being on the same network, you are as good as ready to go.